Hey, Rob and Stephanie, you there?
Yes, I am here.
All right.
I think so. Can you hear me okay? I don't usually use my camera, so I don't know how this is working.
Okay. Well, the video's off, but the audio, I mean, there will be no video, but your audio is great.
Okay, good. I'll leave it how it is then.
Perfect.
And for everybody else out there, we'll get started in just another minute or two. Given it's August and a lot of people on vacation, we're not expecting the largest crowd. So if the size of the crowd doesn't grow much larger, I'm going to unmute everybody. And if you have any questions, just chime in when you're able to. But it would be great if you could keep your microphone muted just to block out any background noise. Okay, we're going to get started. And it appears that whoever colleague is who set up the webinar, they blocked speaking. So the idea of unmuting everybody isn't possible. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Tom Adams. I'm a strategic advisor for the Ocean Project. Thanks for joining us today. In order to do, if you have any questions or comments, there's two ways you can reach out to us. One is there's a chat function, and you can feel free to do that. There's also a question and answer bar at the top or bottom or wherever the toolbar is on your screen. So please do that. And our goal is to be done in 30 minutes and have some time for questions. So we will get started now. We wanted to do this webinar because we appreciate Stephanie Joseph with WCS and Rob Vernon with AZA, who are going to talk about the panels they're involved with. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the first item up here, which is the pre-conference workshop. Several people are on vacation, and I'm going to pinch hit for their panel, so I probably won't do them justice. But we wanted to give people an idea of what audience engagement sessions are going to be at the conference. So as you be planning your travel or what sessions you want to go to, you arrive in New Orleans with a little more information. We'll follow this list chronologically in terms of speakers or presentations today. So that's sort of the agenda. And then sort of a friendly reminder, a week from today, August 9th, is the early bird registration deadline. So if you haven't registered, you have a week to save some money. Okay, so let's get started. The Ocean Project is really happy and pleased to be hosting and organizing a conservation engagement and advocacy skills boot camp. It's part of a grant that we have that's also making this webinar possible from the Moore Foundation, to help zoos and aquariums increase their capacity to engage both their audiences and public officials on a conservation policy issue, and in particular ocean and fisheries. So we'll get into a little bit of that there, but we'll also be talking about terrestrial issues such as Endangered Species Act. Hey, Rob, I think you may have not muted your microphone. There's a little bit of background noise. If you're able to mute, or I can do it for you.
I'm definitely muted. I just unmuted myself and I will mute myself again.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the idea of this webinar, or this workshop, I'm sorry, is to eventually do the sort of actions that are on that picture on the right side, where you're engaging on policy decisions, but also there's a second component of it, which is educating your audience. And some of these other workshop or panels at the conference will get into that, and I think it's really exciting. The workshop itself plans to be very interactive. We are not going to have panels of policy nerds giving long speeches and boring you to tears. It's going to mostly be breakout groups, and then discussing the breakout groups and sort of a learn by doing approach in order to sort of break down some of the perceived barriers and what it takes to engage on policy issues, including developing a mock campaign, working with peers, and hopefully a model that you can, and some ideas that you can take home with you. And then, you know, finally, my background is Capitol Hill, National Environmental Organizations, as a lobbyist and an advocate. And the thing that struck me when I got into the zoo and aquarium world about 16 years ago was that institutions actually have all the existing skill sets to do this sort of work. It just needs to sort of be applied in a different way. And so we're going to get into that and try to let you know it's really not that hard, and it's not taking on a whole bunch of new types of roles and responsibilities. So these, what we hope are the takeaways that you'll leave, is that you understand you have the ability and to frame issues in a way that are going to help protect fish, wildlife, and wild places, as well as advancing your mission and enhancing your brand. Some ideas about how to communicate educational and action-focused messages. And maybe this third one is maybe the most important, is there's a lot of misperceptions of what a nonprofit organization can and cannot do in terms of lobbying. We're going to try to break down the distinction and give you a sense of that it is very possible for you to do an awful lot of communicating with your audiences in a way that is not lobbying and is not going to get you in trouble with the IRS. We're going to try to use the SAFE campaign and sustainable seafood and things that people are familiar with as examples of how you can work with them and incorporate into what you're doing in a way that, you know, helps the cause, both for your organization, your institution, but also for the zoo and aquarium community. And then give some tips, some pro tips about, and some role plays about meetings with decision makers, because for a lot of people this is new, and it's really not that hard, but there just seems to be some, it can be an intimidating process, speaking as somebody who does it for a living. So we currently, as of the other day, have 16 registrants for it. It is pre-conference. It's the Saturday, September 7th from 10 to 5, which sounds like a lot of time, but it really isn't too much. But there also, so you'll need to register for this, and there is a separate fee for it. So it would increase your registration, but we hope some of you can make it, or you can tell colleagues about it or friends about it, and build it up. And I saw Jen Keaton is on here, and we're consulting with AZA's government affairs staff and committee to try to make sure that there's a synergy for what we're doing with what they're doing as well. So we look forward to continuing to work with them on that. I will pause there and just take a quick check to see if there are any questions. Okay, there are none. So I will now turn it over to Stephanie for the panel that she is doing on Monday, September 9th.
All right, thank you so much. This is Stephanie Joseph. I'm at the New York Aquarium, part of the Wildlife Conservation Society, and we are very excited to be hosting a very interactive, collaborative session about ways to empower our youth volunteers. So we've got a really fantastic lineup of panelists. You can go ahead and check that out on the next slide. And so I'm really excited because we've got a nice array from both the zoo and aquarium, and then also some of our larger organizations. So Shereen Knowlton from Roger Williams Park Zoo, we've got Dr. Chris Stold from SeaWorld, Bailey Ritter from the Ocean Project, my good friend Jamie Jackson from Audubon, and then Lauren Gibson, who will be coming from NOAA. And basically what we're trying to do is really look at the best ways to inform anyone working with youth, whether that's a youth volunteer coordinator or it's, you know, someone at the higher level, and really trying to share out the best ideas, share out some of the things that have worked really well for each of our different programs. Each of us will be talking about something a little bit different. So we're talking about advocacy and ways to get youth involved in, you know, really being out and supporting local policies. We're talking about connecting youth programs and getting some of our lead youth together with youth at different organizations. So if you've got another zoo and aquarium nearby, this would be a great way to learn how to start connecting those students. Lauren is working with NOAA to host a youth summit and really bringing our youth together from across our organizations. So that's going to be really exciting as well. Shereen is going to be telling us a little bit more about youth advisory councils and some of the things that they've learned over their last year. And then we've got Chris talking about SeaWorld's involvement with their youth and their leaders, which has been a really exciting, and they've kind of been using them for the last several years, and their role within the organization has really increased quite a bit. And I have one more. Oh, I think that's me. No, yeah, I think that's all of us.
Okay.
So it's really the biggest thing that we're looking to do is get everyone together to really share out what different organizations are doing and find best ways to connect us. So it's going to be very interactive. We're going to share out what we've been doing, and then we're going to take a good portion of our panel time to make sure that that everyone is getting a chance to meet and greet and mingle and talk about, you know, we're going to divide out depending on what your program is really looking like, what that next step is, so that we can talk about best practices and best ways to get involved. So very, very collaborative, and hopefully everyone will get to leave with an opportunity to have some contacts and really start to push our youth forward in a way that we haven't done just yet.
Well, Stephanie, that's great. I know when I started at Brookfield Zoo, one of the things that really struck me was the youth engagement programs, not just at Brookfield, but across the across the industry, basically. And it really it can make a difference. And one of the things that also struck me is there are a lot of kids who came through Brookfield's program that are now working in the community. So
yes,
it's just a great way to, and you can always do more, right? I mean, it's
right.
a great program. So it sounds like it's a great way for people to connect and get new ideas. And
yes.
and maybe even friends and partners. So
Definitely. And you know, I knew I was forgetting someone. I've got Bailey. Bailey on the call with us. Hey, Bailey. And so Bailey's actually going to be sharing out some of the opportunities with the Ocean Project and the things that they've been doing with World Oceans Day and some of those great opportunities as well.
And let me just see. Hey, Bailey, I just promoted you to panelist if you wanted to say anything.
No, Stephanie, you did such a good job. It's going to be really exciting, especially for me coming from kind of the flip side is what Tom was just saying. You know, a lot of the young people in the community, they learn about career opportunities by being involved in whatever zoo and aquarium or, you know, other educational institution that they're a part of. And, you know, they are so inspired that they find that they want to have a home within this community as well, which, you know, happened with me. So it's going to be very, very exciting just to talk about how to leverage exactly what you were just saying, Stephanie, how to leverage young people in the sense of using what they're passionate about to drive kind of conservation goals within different institutions. So I'm excited. It's going to be such a great interactive panel.
Well, I look forward to it. So, okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to move on, and I'm covering and giving a little breakdown on this panel, which is being organized and moderated by Amy David with the Monterey Bay Aquarium, but it's going to highlight the work of the Aquarium Conservation Partnership, which is, I think it's about 22, 23 aquariums that have formed a working partnership to engage on their audiences on various issues, and they're going to be sharing their stories about how they're doing that, and you know the I guess the successes that they're having in it. And also you can see that they're going to be taking what aquariums are doing to take action themselves to support conservation policies and improve business practices. I know they're getting into like a lot of sourcing on plastics and to reduce the plastics they use in order to reduce the footprint of plastics going in the ocean, for example. So it's not just the policy stuff, it's also business practices. And they're going to highlight some of these activities. And then their panelists who come from 5 of the institutions or members, or 4 of the members, and Kim McIntyre, who's the director of it, are going to share. Kim's going to share sort of an overall collective impact, and then Kelly Crick with the New England Aquarium is going to talk about the collective power of aquarium speaking as one. Katie Kubina is going to talk about the work that they've been doing at Mystic Aquarium. Stephanie's colleague, Noah Chestnan, is going to talk about their work in schools with teachers and students. And then Andrea Densham with Shed Aquarium is going to talk about the work that they're doing collaboratively on the Clean Water Act and protecting habitat for fish and aquatic ecosystems. So I know I am not doing it justice. I'm sure it's going to be a great session, but I have now gone through the talking points they provided for me. So I'm going to move to the next one that I'm also covering, which is becoming true agents for change and mobilizing audiences to take meaningful action for conservation. This actually, it sort of bookends the workshop, the pre-conference workshop, because it's going to have zoos and aquariums are going to be talking about what they are doing right now, currently doing, not past successes or failures or campaigns, but things that are going on right now and what they're learning. We actually at the Ocean Project are really excited. We are currently working with 6 aquariums on an engagement project, and we'll have the results hot off the presses for it. And that's at New England Aquarium, Mystic Aquarium, Florida Aquarium, Texas State Aquarium, Seattle Aquarium, and Virginia Aquarium. So that will be great. But they're really going to dive into sort of this evolution within the industry about how to engage visitors and what to engage them on, especially the increased role that some see to engage on conservation action, and try to motivate the guest to do that. So it is designed for people who work in the conservation education or senior and executive leadership space. So if you're among that, I recommend this conference or this session, I'm sorry. And here you can see what they're hoping folks are going to walk away from. Really get a sense of what your colleagues are doing to drive conservation action in your audiences, sort of the unique characteristics and abilities that zoos and aquariums have to engage audiences, and get people to move forward to take action. The integration of conservation campaigns into your overall plans and programs, and then finally, how you can understand how individuals at AZA institutions can collectively contribute into creating a social movement for conservation. And that gets into collaboration and partnerships, which is similar to the aquarium and conservation partnership model. So the speakers and moderators of this are going to be Robin Keith from San Diego Zoo Global, and Jackie Ogden, retired from Disney, Emily Rutman with Emily Rutman Associates, Douglas Meyer, our colleague here at the Ocean Project, Dr. Wei-Ying Wong from Woodland Park Zoo, Ben Jones from the Dallas Zoo, and Renee Bumpus from Houston Zoo. So I kind of sped through that because I'm just trying to get us back on time. But now I'm going to turn it over to Rob Vernon with AZA. Take it away, Rob.
Great. Thanks a lot, Tom. And I'm going to just update you on a session that we're organizing at on the last day, on Wednesday, at the AZA conference. We're all aware, and many of you engage in special celebration days that are part of what we do from a communications and marketing standpoint and guest engagement strategy. And so what we're going to do, if you can advance to the next slide, there we go. So our session, we know that there's lots of special days and weeks and months. Some of our some AZA members participate in, there's some days where AZA members participate in many of them together, but there's others that are more selective and usually revolve around a specific species that maybe a smaller subset of AZA members would be a part of. But whether it's a national strategy or a global strategy or even a local strategy, many of these events all have the same goal, and that's how do we get people to care and be engaged in the work that we're doing. So this particular session really highlights some of the best of practices related to some of those days. And then we have an all-star cast of folks. Thank you. Have an all-star cast of folks that are going to be talking about a variety of topics, from the higher level down to the lower level. Bill Mott with the Ocean Project will be our moderator for the event. I should also mention that this event is part of both the education and the public relations and marketing track. So we're excited to get that dual listing and hopefully attract a wider audience to this particular session on Wednesday. So Bill will start off with giving an overview of some of the days that our members participate in. And then we'll hear from Kat Rumbley from Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. She's going to talk about event management specifically, and how do you get your event to stand out, whether it's World Oceans Day or Endangered Species Day that many of AZA members partake in, or if it's something like Cupcake Day, whatever it might be. How do you get your event to shine? Following that is going to be Kelly Mattis, and she's going to talk specifically about Endangered Species Day and some of the things that they've been doing from the aquarium side to get people engaged in learning about vaquita and penguins and turtles and sharks, and how that is impacted on Endangered Species Day. Katie McMahon will be up next, and she'll talk. She's from Ripley's Aquarium of Canada, and she's going to talk specifically about World Oceans Day and some of the things that they've done at their facility, how the aquarium has celebrated in past years, and some of the tips that they found have worked well with engaging the guests on World Oceans Day in particular. After that, Ed Mastro, who's the interim director of Cabrillo Marine Aquarium, is going to talk about how he uses facilities available to him outside of his aquarium. Specifically, they're located right next to Coastal Park, and so they use that a lot to engage with guests. They host events out there on these specific days and engage with the community in their urban oceans. And those dovetail with activities that then are taking place inside the aquarium. So he's going to talk about how they engage with guests and have fun learning about environmental issues. And then I'm going to be giving an overview of AZA's Party for the Planet actions and some of the safe species recognition days, and what some of our members have done to highlight those specific species, as well as trying to get the AZA community involved in helping bring awareness to those different animals. So that session's on Wednesday, September 11th, starting at 10 a.m. So it'll be a great session. I think you'll learn a lot, and we'll have some time at the end to take questions. So we're excited about it.
Well, that sounds great. Rob, I just know that, there can be special day fatigue, but they really do have the, great potential to not just raise awareness about an issue for a species, but also to, put your institution in a very favorable light for the work you're doing. Because, the thing that always strikes me is how much work both, in situ, ex situ, or just outreach and education work that zoos and aquariums are doing on behalf of wildlife that often gets overlooked and is not part of the story. So it's great that we're highlighting the great work that people are doing and using these days to do it. So that gets us to the end here. And I just want to check and see if there are any questions before people start taking off. Whoops, went too far. Well, thank you all for coming. Hope to see you at all the sessions that we previewed today. If there are not any questions, I'll hang out for a little bit if people have them. Again, I just want to, on behalf of the Ocean Project, thank the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation for their support for the webinar series. We try to do these every first Friday of the month. Obviously, we'll not be doing one in September on the first Friday, but we will be doing them throughout the fall, and we hope you can join us for them as well. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody.